Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at Power Automate for Desktop, configure exceptions, and error handling. So in the last 8 videos, we looked at a whole bunch in Power Automate for Desktop, and you should have gotten familiar to start building your own, at least start testing it. But today, I want to focus on how do we handle those errors, because you know that there will be situations when an existing flow was working just great, suddenly started giving us errors. So I want to focus on how do we handle those. Also, how do we start gathering our own logs so we can start troubleshooting it in a much more step-by-step process. So stick around, there's a lot to learn, but first, here's my intro video. So let's get started. And if you followed my videos, you know where I am. This is my Power Automate for Desktop. It is tied to this environment, and this environment has the pay-as-you-go Azure subscription. What I'll do is I'll go and start a new flow, and in my new flow, I'll go ahead and give it a name. I'm going to say exception and error handling demo. We'll go ahead and create it. And so now we'll actually go into the main console and start testing this whole error handling. Now, in one of my previous videos, you must have seen me launch an Excel spreadsheet, which is a very specific spreadsheet. And if you've noticed, this is what it is. I've got a sheet of spreadsheets. The one I've actually been using is the financial example. So what I'll do is I'll actually come over here and I'll go ahead and grab the link of this financial example, like the full path of that, right? So I'm going to go and highlight that, and I'll do a Control-C, and I'll just keep it beside just so we don't miss it. What I'll do is I'll also go and create go to launch, and in my launch, I see launch Excel spreadsheet, and I'll go and keep it over here. And in this action, I'll actually go and say that I'm going to do it with a blank one, but I'm going to open up a very specific document. So I actually got that entire link ready. I don't want it up to the file level. I just want to go and create it right up here. Perfect. And I've got the sample spreadsheet. Open it up, and I'll make it visible. Everything is good, and I'll save it. Quick test, we'll actually go, and remember, as good stewards, go ahead and save your flow so we don't miss anything, all right? Always keep that. And once it is saved, do a quick test, run it. And once you run it, on the bottom over here, you will see that that Excel spreadsheet will load. In fact, it's opened up right on there. Let me go drag it in over here. Excel spreadsheet loaded. On the bottom, you can see that the Excel spreadsheet is there. So we know that this flow so far works. But in that scenario, what happens if that spreadsheet has disappeared from its location? How do we handle those errors? That is what I want to troubleshoot. And let's actually go and make that change. I'll come into this action, and I'll just say, okay, instead of this inside the spreadsheets folder, it's actually going to be in the demo folder, all right? You and I know it's not there. It's actually in that subfolder, but now we're going to reenact an entire error situation. So if I go and click on save now, right? Now if I go and do run, there will be an error. Something will happen. It's not able to do that. On the bottom, it's actually saying that there is error, and it gives me this. And if I were to actually go ahead and open this up, this is the information that it gives. Now, this error details is just too much information for me to even understand. But the two things that I really like is right here. It is telling me where the location of this error is. So it's telling me this is in your main flow, right in action 1. And what is action 1? It is launch Excel. I love this error. This immediately tells me what is wrong with this. And then after that, the error message that we see, failed to open Excel document. So before we deep dive into gathering our logs and doing all this information, let's just spend some time in what all I can gather directly from this action. So on the bottom, do you see this on error? Not all the actions has this on error. There's only specific ones for this type of situation. If you're going to go ahead and touch a data or going to do any CRUD operations, create, run, update, delete, those type of operations, then those usually have this on error. So when I go and open up the on error, there's a lot over here to absorb, and we'll take it step by step. So first of all, right on the top, there's a beautiful action available for us to retry, which is retry action if error occurs. And that is always the first thing you want to do, is when in doubt, retry it. Always retry it. But the beauty is that once I toggle this on, it is giving me more options. How many times do you want to retry it, and what should be the interval between each of the retrying? So for example, I want to go and at least retry this once. And what I also want to do is that when we are retrying it, go ahead and put in like a 2-second delay between, because you just know that there might be something happening on this machine that the Excel spreadsheet just hasn't opened up. So you make your gut instinct on this. It's like, okay, I think I need 2 seconds, or if these are actually running on some of your heavy duty, say server type of environment where you want to have it a little bit more delay, go ahead and use your best estimate on that. Go ahead and maybe say 5 seconds, all right? This is a really good play to go ahead and actually do some initial steps of troubleshooting. So what I'll say is actually I'm going to at least try 2 times, and the 2 seconds interval is perfect, right? So I'm going to at least do that, all right? I'm going to click on save, and immediately did you notice something? On that action now, it is going and giving us this error handling logo. This is perfect because now just by viewing the main flow itself, you know that, okay, in that action, I've already gone ahead and assigned an error handling process. So let's do a run. All right, now I'm going to click on run over here. What you and I will see that it's actually going to go and do an attempt. You in fact will see this little blinking type of a feature. That just means that it's attempting to launch the Excel. And after 2 tries, it will go ahead and give us an error over here. So now let's go and take a look at what this error works altogether, right? So if I go and open this error up, it looks exactly the same, all right? It tells me what was the location, it is action number 1, and what was the message. So it doesn't give me a whole lot of information as to what happened, how many attempts did I do. No, it doesn't give me any of that. However, at least it went ahead and tried. So now we know that in our troubleshooting scenarios, at least the delay part, which is on the on error, the delay part, that did not work. So now we need to focus our attention on this section over here, right, on the all errors. Also keep in mind that if for some reason the top one hasn't worked, you can still keep it on, or you can go and toggle this off. I'm talking about this retry action and errors. You can go and turn that off. But remember, this is something we're trying to replicate for the actual production type of scenario. So we want to go through the steps. I'm going to go and keep this one toggled on as is. But the next thing I'm going to do is focus my attention on this throw error. Well, once an error actually occurs, I want to go and throw an own error that makes sense to me. So for in this throw error, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to now click on new. In the new, I want to go and select a variable. I want to actually set a value of the variable. So when this little action comes up, I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to put in a var for variable error message. And in the error message, what is this message? Well, I'm going to actually go and type in something. So let me go and put this entire thing up. I'm going to say something in effect, could not launch the Excel spreadsheet. Check to see if the, and I want to say location. Well, how do I go and grab that location? See over there on the top, that location was actually saved into the Excel instance. And that's a variable that's automatically created. See over here on the right, the flow variable. Well, if I go and now click on the variable section, all I got to do is grab that flow instance. So I'll go and select that. And then I'll end with saying something in effect that location is valid, just to make sure I type that in correctly, and that is good. So now I can go and click on save, and let's go and reenact this entire situation again. We're going to be doing this a few times, okay? So I'll go and click on run. It'll go and do the launch Excel. It's going to go and attempt that at least twice with a delay of 2 seconds in it. And then after that, when the error comes up, we will go and take a look at our error message over here. So therefore, the error message is coming in and it has been captured. So if I double click on that right over here, if I double click on it, you will see that could not launch the Excel spreadsheet. And then it tells me to go ahead and check the location. So we're actually making some progress. The errors are coming up over here, okay? Now what we did over here was a one-time scenario where if an error occurred in this specific step, and if I go take a look at the error, it just creates a variable and it saves it over there. But I want to first of all capture more information, and I want to set this as a repetitive thing. But if any error happens, go do something. And for that, a best scenario is go ahead and create a subflow, because that subflow can be a very dynamic one. But it doesn't care which action it is. We'll just trigger that and we'll go and follow the exact same steps for any actions, and it will just work. So let me actually go do that first, right? The first thing we're going to do is come into a subflow, and I'm going to create a new flow, and I'm going to call that as capture, no spaces, error info, right? I'm just going to call it something simple like that. And over here, we start going and gathering all the errors. What I'll also do is go ahead and add first a comment. So I'll just search for something called comment. I like this comment area over here under flow control, drag it, move it over here, drag it, drop it, and then I'll put in this text which says, when a test outcome is negative, this subflow creates a list with the case info, appends it to a temporary test CSV location, and marks it as failed. Basically, we are creating our own log file, all right? So I will go and click on save. That way, we've had this comment area, we know what it's going to do. Now, I need to go ahead and get all these errors. When an error happens, I need to go and grab these errors. So what I'm going to do is I'm just searching for something. So is there something called error? Yeah, actually in the flow control, there is something called as get last error. So you know what? Let's just go take a look at this flow control. there is a bunch of good things that are over here. First of all, the comment. The comment is what we just added. Then there is a way for ending it, exit a flow, all that. But here, you see that there is something called as get last error, on block error, and even the label. Keep that label in the back of your mind. We're going to revisit this in just a few minutes. But right now, this is what I want. Get last error. So I'll go and drag it, drop it over here. Everything looks good for now. It also went ahead and generated its own variable, so I like it. I'll click on save for now. And like you see on the right side on the flow variables, the last error pieces come out. So we are got a way to now automatically go and get the errors. I need to go and start saving it. We talked about it as a CSV file. So we've got some options for us. I want to save it in a variable. So I could put it in a data table type, or I can go and put it in a list type. For this one, I just want line by line items coming in, getting all the errors, dropping it into a line by line item. So a list one works fairly well for me. And so that one is in variables. So on the variables, which is right on the top, I'm going to go and create a new list, and I'll drop it over here. I'll change this name to something like this. Oh, I got two extra percentage. It's going to be a var error log list. I'll go and save it. Another important thing that we need to capture errors is the date and time. So let me go and see, do I have anything for current date and time? There you go. I just went and started typing in current space D. There is already a variable, there's already an action available for that. So I'll go and drag that, drop it over here. Everything else looks good. I want to make it for the system time zone, which is what is the time zone running on this machine of yours. That is perfect for me. You've got some other options, by the way. You've got system time zone and specific time zone. I'll leave it at the system time zone, and the variables produced is called this current date and time. I don't have an option to change this, by the way. This is the hard variable that's already set. You don't have the option to change it, but it makes sense. So I'm going to go and click on save. And then after that, we're going to start adding these items. So if I just go and X out of this one, go back to our variables. Now in the variables, we are going to add an item to this list. So again, click on it, drag it, add it, drop it. I'll go and get what is this item that I want. Currently, I want the current date time. So I'll at least go select that, select it, and then add it to a list. Well, we actually only have this one list, which is the var error log list. So I'll select that, I'll click on save. And so it's already finished the first item. We went and first created the list, but I'm going to go and get the time. Like, when did this happen? It's going to go and save that over here. Next thing is actually go and save what is that error. So for that, I'm going to go and add another item. I'll drop that item over here. And then what is the item that I'm adding? That item is going to be the last error. See, the last error variable is coming from the get last error action. So I got that last error. Select it, save it, and then this one is going to be added to our variable of the var error log list. So I'll go and save that, save it over here. And then finally, I want to go and get this data from this variable list and write it to that CSV. So I'm going to go and say write to CSV. See, write to CSV file. Perfect. I'll go and drag that, drop it over here. And that one is going to be the variable that we did the initial writing. And that variable is the var error log list. That's my variable. The file path, let me go and decide what that file path is going to be. I'll go and make sure I just drop it over here in this location. I like that, so I'll go and select that. I'll put it over here. That's going to be my file path. And finally, exit this subflow. And that's exactly what I'm going to search for is exit sub, and there you have it, exit subflow. Drag it, drop it, and over here, we basically don't have to do anything else. That is what it is. So I'll go and click on save now. And we just got to go and make sure that we've actually go and assign this subflow to run. So once that's done, we go to our main, launch this one, click on error. We've been actually gathering this variable, so that's fine, but I'm going to click a new rule. In the new rule, I want to run a subflow. So in my subflow, this is what it says, run subflow. That one is going to be, well, I only have one subflow, so that's going to be capture error. So I'll do that. I'll go and click on save. And now, again, save it as good stewards, and then I'll go and do a run. So in the run, you and I already know the first steps, the 2 seconds delayed, not going to work. But in the process, you will watch it'll switch over to now the subflow. And there's a second section that's happening. So there you go. Went ahead and did that, and it's now giving us an error. Well, what was the error? Let's go take a look. I think I know what the error was. We did not actually give it a full name. So I'll go here. I'll go give back here. I'll put it a backslash, and I'll just say error _ log.csv, save it. Now let's go do another full run. So I'll do a full run, goes to the main side. In the main, it is going attempting launch. Now it will switch over to our subflow. it went through it properly. We still got an error. Now that error is coming from the main one, but if I were to go open up my folder, yep, right there, the error log is coming in. It's 1 kilobytes. So if I open this up, now it is actually starting to gather all of this. We are building our own log files successfully, and it's giving us all this information. See, timestamp came in, perfect. Then we know what was the action, what was the flow, and then it also gave us the error. So we are making some amazing progress over here, all right? But here's another problem that's happened. First of all, the error still comes up. So how do I get past this? Because I don't want to end this as an error anymore. Because what happens in my real world scenario is that I might have more actions after this. I just want those actions to skip and then go and just end it. Well, how do I do that? So first of all, I'm just going to first pretend that I've actually got some actions over here. I'll go and do a display message. So I'll search for display, and there's a display message. So I'll grab this, I'll drop this over here. I'll say test message 1. You can do a control C, control V, paste it, control C, control V, right there, all right? And then after that, I'll just do a control C, control V. That way I can put in another message just to show as if we have some actions over here and how that's going to work, all right? Because in the real world scenario, that's exactly what will happen. You'll have one main action, and then after that, some sub actions, and then at some point, something will fail. So we're just trying to recreate a real world scenario. So I'll do that, test 3, all right? And we're done over here. Now, after this, we can now create that scenario where, say, the error happened on the top. I want to go ahead and now jump straight to, say, the last action. But that last action should be some type of display message which is telling me, hey, an error has occurred, which is why the flow just ended unexpectedly. So for that one too, I will go ahead and now just put in a error message right over here. That error message will be, say, of a type big warning, and I will say something in effect that the error has occurred, all right? And then I'll go and put in a little bit more information over here. It says, hello, an error has occurred. No worries, we have captured the message and saved it in your log file. And then after that, we'll go and click on save, all right? So this is neat, but I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Daniel, there's one thing missing. How do we make it jump from that one straight to this one if there is an error occurring? Because if there's an error occurred, I don't want it to go through these steps. I want to jump it directly over there. And for that, we use the label technique. So watch this, all right? I'm going to go up over here, and I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to search for something called as label. This is how the label works. Now, there's another one on Google Cognitive Service called label detection. Don't get confused. It is a flow control one. So I'll drag this, I'll drop it down straight over here, and now you've got to go and give it a label name. So I'm going to say throw error message, all right? That's the one. I'm going to go and give it over here, directly that. And in the launch, where you think that the error is going to happen, in the launch, go back to your on error, and then right over here, flow run name, click on that, and over here, there's the option for exception handling mode. Drop down and select for go to label. In the go to label, it will give you the options, and we've only got one, which is the throw error message we just added. So I'll select that, I'll go and click on save, and right there you will see that it's shown up. And it's very important that this is right before wherever you want to display that error message, all right? So again, good stewards, we'll go and click on save, and then after that, now that I hit run, it will successfully run it. It will go and capture a log file, but we should not get this error message in the bottom, hopefully. But let's go and do a run. So we click on run. We know that this Excel spreadsheet is not in that location. It does 2 attempts. Let it go through that. Once that has gone through, it will go and switch over to the Subflow, because that is one area that we added. Subflow went through, an error message directly came up. So it went so fast that I was still talking, but the error message came up. This is the error message that you added. See, we came back to the main one. The Subflow ran and capture info error. It finished it, switched over to the main one. It skipped all these other messages. It noticed the label one, so it went and gave a message. But see, on the bottom over there, we didn't get that error pop up. So the flow is still running, and if I actually click on OK, it will come and say status ready, everything is good. So just to be sure, if we go and take a look at our error log location, there's the file which was created. I open it up. It has captured all of this error logs in a very systematic way. Also, there are other type of actions which will do that. So for a quick one that comes to my mind is when I go and do, say, a SQL one, all right? I've got something called execute SQL statement. Drag it, drop it. When I put it over here, see, it also has on error. Not all of them do, but every type of these actions, like I mentioned, anything that has a create, run, update, all of those CRUD operations or anything that you do stuff with, they tend to have these type of errors. And if you've noticed, they're all very similar. If I go and toggle this on, Same thing that we tried over here for the launch Excel. Over here, same option, go ahead and add rules. Set a variable, you know, the one we just captured over here to save it, run a subflow, then you can do a throw error, you can continue with the run. Like, it's giving very similar things. That is why I just picked one to show you how you go and actually create that, because the same thing applies to all the other ones as well. So this is pretty neat because you have now professionally and logically found out the way how to go ahead and capture all your errors and build your own log file. Things such as the date and timestamp, getting an outline of what the error was, and in this case, where exactly the error occurred, which step it was. A very professional way to start doing some troubleshooting. And in this example, I focused on the Excel action, but I also ended by showing you that, hey, either SQL execution or any other actions that does like a CRUD type of operations, the error handling is the exact same. You go through each of the exact same steps, step by step, and call the same subflow to capture your log information. So hopefully this video was helpful to you, and now hopefully you have a good overview of how to use Power Automate for desktop. And if you've got any ideas for other videos, let me know in the comments below and I'll build them just for you. And as always, keep using Power Automate for desktop with Power Automate Cloudflow. Hello, hello, hello. So if you like this video, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and smash that like button. Also, if you have a few extra seconds, can you go ahead and put in a comment? Either say something nice or give me ideas for my next video. And until then, see ya.